Like, what's this girl, Meghan Markle? Just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light-skin lottery? Acting all dumb like she don't know nothing. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. They're the original racists. Some of that shit she went through was not racism. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know how brown the baby gonna be. Shit. We check behind them ears. That's a scientific test. Black girl trying to be accepted by her white in-laws. It's so hard. It's very hard. But it ain't as hard as a white girl trying to be accepted by her black in-laws.
Welcome back to Clout Therapy, where we dig into the drama behind the royals and the Hollywood elite. Today, we're breaking down the moment that flipped Meghan Markle's entire image. It wasn't a headline. It wasn't an interview. It was one single Chris Rock joke. Didn't she hit the light-skinned lottery? And trust me, the fallout was brutal. Overnight, Meghan went from victim to punchline. Sympathy turned into side eyes, and the internet has never let her live it down. From late-night hosts piling on to memes flooding social media, this wasn't just comedy. It was a cultural shift. So let's get into how one joke sparked Meghan Markle's biggest PR nightmare. If you live for royal chaos, hit that subscribe button and buckle up. This is Clout Therapy. Chris Rock didn't build up to it, didn't dance around it. He came out swinging, and his first target was Meghan Markle. The special had just begun, the crowd was buzzing, and then boom, he drops the line that would echo.
They're so racist, they're so racist. Some of that he went through was not racism. It was just some in-law. Sometimes it's just some in-law. Cause she's complaining, I'm like, what the you talking about? No, they're so racist.
World. Didn't she hit the light-skinned lottery? The audience erupted, but it wasn't just a laugh. It was a shift. In that moment, Meghan's carefully crafted image cracked wide open. Rock doubled down, poking fun at her claim that she never Googled the royal family before marrying Harry. He mocked the idea that someone as media savvy, as Hollywood polished as Meghan, would walk into one of the most famous families on earth with zero research. The crowd knew it. Everyone at home knew it. It didn't sound innocent. It sounded like a setup. And Rock didn't stop there. He took aim at her constant complaints, painting her as someone drowning in privilege yet still begging for sympathy. "You're a princess," he joked, making her look ungrateful, spoiled, and out of touch. The laughter turned sharp, almost cruel, because it hit on what so many people were already whispering. Maybe Meghan wasn't oppressed. Maybe she was just playing the part. Then came the dagger. When Meghan said the royals were worried about her baby's skin tone, Rock spun it as basic family drama. Not racism, not oppression, just the kind of in-law nonsense that happens in every family. That line stung because it reframed everything Meghan had built her public persona on. Instead of being a victim of one of the most powerful institutions in the world, Rock painted her as just another daughter-in-law with complaints. And that's why this moment mattered. In one set, Chris Rock didn't just make jokes. He rewrote Meghan's narrative. He made her look manipulative, not mistreated, calculated, not clueless. And for millions watching, it was the first time they laughed at her instead of crying for her. That's the power of comedy. And for Meghan Markle, it was the shot that started the fire. Within hours, the clips were everywhere. TikTok loops, Twitter threads, YouTube reaction videos, Chris Rock's jokes about Meghan spread like wildfire. And once the floodgates opened, other comedians pounced. In the UK, comics went straight for her hypocrisy. The woman who demanded privacy while cashing checks from Netflix and spilling secrets on primetime. The crowd ate it up because the irony was too sharp to ignore. Over in the US, late-night hosts picked apart every contradiction, hammering her for cashing in on pain, for turning victimhood into a brand, for chasing money while insisting she hated the spotlight. And that was the real sting. It wasn't just Rock anymore. It was a chorus. Different comedians, same punchlines. one after another, turning Meghan's story into a running gag. That's when the narrative collapsed. What once made her look sympathetic now made her look like a walking contradiction, and the world stopped defending and started laughing. If Chris Rock lit the spark, meme culture poured gasoline on it. Within hours, TikTok was buzzing. Not with sympathy, but with comedy edits. People began taking Meghan's Oprah interview, cutting it into short clips, and dropping laugh tracks right after her dramatic pauses. What was once heartbreaking suddenly looked like a sitcom. A line about survival, followed by a burst of canned laughter. A claim about suffering, answered by a clown horn. It was savage. The Netflix doc, Her and Harry's Supposed Truth, was mocked just as fast. One viral video summed it up in 6 words: a 6-hour infomercial for self-pity. And that line stuck. Suddenly, every dramatic drone shot of Montecito, every slow-motion, tearful look into the camera became content for parodies. Creators mimicked it, reenacted it, spliced it into joke trailers for fake shows. Meghan's most carefully produced project had turned into her biggest liability. And then came the specific memes. The rebagging snacks scene, it was everywhere. Twitter called it peak millionaire problems. TikTokers stitched it into clips of people struggling with actual groceries, mocking how out of touch it looked. Then there were the privacy please edits. Endless loops of Meghan saying she wanted privacy, plastered over paparazzi photos, staged shots, and red carpet appearances. The contradictions became too obvious, too funny, too memeable. And the name dropping. Oh, the internet didn't let that go. People strung together clips of Meghan dropping names like she was reading from her contacts list. Oprah, Beyonce, Tyler Perry, Serena, one after another. The compilations made her look less connected and more desperate, like she was begging the world to believe she belonged. On Twitter, contradictions spread faster than wildfire. Every quote Meghan gave was pulled apart, twisted into memes, mocked with receipts. And the PR team? They didn't stand a chance. They were writing carefully worded press releases while TikTok was cranking out 10 new jokes a minute. The story was out of their control. Meghan wasn't writing her own narrative anymore. The internet was. Then came the big guns, late-night television. The kind of comedy that doesn't just hit millions live, but gets clipped, shared, and replayed forever. Fallon led the charge, zeroing in on Meghan and Harry's bizarre secret wedding claim. He broke it down, mocked it, laughed at how impossible it was, and the audience howled. People online replayed the bit over and over, pointing out how ridiculous it sounded coming from Meghan's own mouth. Fallon didn't have to explain. The laughter said it all. Colbert took a different angle. He went after the branding, the way Meghan and Harry tried to spin themselves as M and H, a cute nickname, turned into a PR strategy. Colbert flipped it into a joke about how they weren't lovers anymore. They were logos. The crowd roared, because that's exactly how it felt. Less romance, more marketing. Then SNL stepped in, and their satire cut even deeper. They portrayed Meghan and Harry as clueless grifters, wandering around Hollywood with no real plan, just cashing in on their titles. It wasn't subtle, it was brutal. They were painted as opportunists, using victimhood as currency, and audiences laughed because by then, it didn't feel like parody. It felt like truth. Finally, Family Guy put the cherry on top with a single line: millions for doing nothing. It was short, simple, but devastating. That one sentence summed up the entire cultural view of Meghan and Harry. And here's the thing. When Fallon, Colbert, SNL, and Family Guy, completely different shows with different audiences, are all circling you with the same jokes, the truth stops mattering. The punchline becomes the truth. Repetition is reputation. And by then, Meghan's was ruined. But nothing hit harder than South Park. The worldwide privacy tour episode was the cultural death blow. Meghan and Harry were shown screaming for privacy while waving megaphones, demanding peace while flying around on private jets, lecturing the world while cashing giant checks. The caricature was merciless, but it was effective, because South Park doesn't just make fun of you, it cements you. Once South Park reduces you to a cartoon, that's how people see you forever. Think about it. No matter how many interviews Meghan gives, no matter how many glossy photo shoots she does, millions of people will always picture her as that animated character. Shrill, hypocritical, ridiculous. South Park has that power. It distills the narrative, exaggerates it, and then burns it into pop culture. And once it's in, it doesn't come out. Meghan wasn't just mocked anymore. She was branded. If South Park was the fire, Bill Maher was the ice. His critique wasn't comedy, it was cold, logical, and devastating. He looked at Meghan and Harry's behavior, the complaints, the contradictions, the endless cashing in, and he cut through it with no mercy. He called out their entitlement, their obsession with fame, their demand for the perks without the pressure. And then he compared them to Queen Elizabeth, a woman who lived through wars, betrayals, scandals, and unimaginable scrutiny, and never once aired the family drama. Elizabeth endured more in 1 year than Meghan ever has, yet she kept her silence. By contrast, Meghan and Harry turned silence into a paycheck. And then Maher delivered the line that echoed louder than any joke. The world isn't obligated to play along with your personal drama. That was it. That was the reality check. The applause wasn't laughter. It was agreement, and it stung. Because once comedians stop laughing and start diagnosing, your brand doesn't just wobble, it collapses. And that's where Meghan landed. Not as a princess, not as a victim, not even as a celebrity, but as a punchline. From that moment on, every move she made was mocked before it was understood. Every photo, every statement, every press release was filtered through layers of memes and jokes. People didn't take her seriously anymore. They didn't listen for her truth. They waited for the next meme. The PR machine was helpless. Glossy photo spreads couldn't erase South Park caricatures. Carefully worded statements couldn't erase Family Guy punchlines. Meghan could spend millions on branding, but a single TikTok joke could undo it all in 30 seconds. Once the internet decides you're a joke forever. The proof was everywhere. Type her name on Twitter and the top posts weren't news articles. They were contradictions, memes, edits. Search her on YouTube and you'd find reaction videos mocking her, not praising her. Watch late night TV and she wasn't a guest. She was the punchline. Her reputation wasn't dented, it wasn't bruised, it was demolished. And that's the tragedy of it all. Meghan Markle, once a symbol of hope, once the outsider princess, became something else entirely. She became shorthand for hypocrisy, a walking contradiction, a cultural joke. And the hardest truth? Once your name becomes a punchline, it's finished. No spin, no comeback, just a legacy of memes and laughter. A montage of TikToks, South Park clips, late-night monologues, and Family Guy one-liners told the whole story better than any documentary ever could. Meghan Markle didn't just lose control of her narrative, she lost her credibility. Forever. But here's the thing. This wasn't just cultural damage. The memes, the jokes, the parodies, they didn't stay online. Meghan and Harry's drama started torching their real-world relationships too. Friends, allies, even business partners began pulling away, not wanting to be caught in the fire. The roast never ended. It only spread. And trust me, the next chapter is even uglier. So hit that subscribe button to Clout Therapy, where we pull the mask off Hollywood's fakest stories and show you what's really going on behind the curtain.